He does. You do look really low. Why don't you switch it with one of these? You look like a gardener.
You can hardly see over the text. Is that it?
I'll take just one. No, that looks low too. This one's higher. Oh, yeah. This one's pretty high.
Yours is lower than mine.
This one's higher. That one's higher than ours. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Really clever cars. Musical chairs. Well, they're all about the same.
This is a regular meeting, public hearing being held in the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream on Friday, April the 8th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the William F. Cook Jr. Commission Chambers of the Town Hall, 100 C Road, Gulfstream, Florida.
Mr. Nazaro.
He's getting me the pen.
I call the meeting to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Commissioner Orthwein. Also present are the town manager, Greg Dunham, and the town attorney, Edward Nazaro, and the police chief, Ed Allen, and myself. And let the record show, of course, that Mrs. White is absent. And that's it.
Thank you very much. We've had the minutes presented to us from the last meeting on March 11th. Are there any additions, corrections, changes, or comments?
Never mind. Sorry.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2022.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein. Mayor Morgan.
Yes. I believe we may have a change on the agenda.
Yes, Mayor. Under announcements, we have the meeting, regular meetings and public hearings, and then the legislative update. We're going to be moving number 10D, resolution number 2202 regarding, excuse me, settlement agreements to 6C after the senator.
That'll be after 6B.
Correct.
Any other changes?
No, sir.
Very good. Next meeting is May 13th at 9 o'clock for anyone who wishes to attend. And I think we have Senator Berman who just walked in. Perfect timing.
Thank you.
Welcome, Senator.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, you came in just in time.
Thank you. So I like to give my report after session ended and let you know how everything went in Tallahassee. We have one job, and that is to pass a balanced budget, and we did that. The budget last year was $101 billion. This year it was $112 billion. So it was a very, very robust budget. Everybody supported it. A lot of money going to Palm Beach County for projects for water, and we're doing a lot of environmental. First responders are all getting raises. Teachers are getting raises. $15 for an hour for state employees. So a really, really good overall budget. really proud of it. Every 10 years, we have to do redistricting. So we did redistricting. The Senate does their own maps, the House does their own maps, and then we try and work together on the congressional maps. We did pass a congressional map and the governor vetoed it. The governor has put forth his own plan. So we are going back on April 19th for a special session to work on the congressional maps. The Senate maps and the House maps are pretty much set. My new district still in the redistricting still includes Gulfstream. I'm happy to report. So I will hopefully continue to represent you. I always like to give you a little report on what happened with preemption in Tallahassee, and that's when we, as the state, say that we are the only ones who are allowed to control certain things. So what passed is what they call the mother of all preemptions. I didn't support it. I know Palm Beach County commissioners are asking the governor to veto it. And what it says is if you pass an ordinance and you have a business in your community that's been there for 3 years or more, and they can prove that they lost 15% of their revenue because of your ordinance, they can then come to you and say either repeal your ordinance or we're going to sue you for the lost revenues. So it's pretty concerning. The League of Counties, I believe, thinks it could cost cities and counties as much as $900 million a year. So it's something you might want to let the governor know how you feel about it. We did actually do one reverse preemption, which is really great for Gulfstream and all our communities. We said that you now, as a city, can regulate smoking on your beaches and in your parks. So that was great. The one thing that's a little funky about it is because of one of the senators, they excluded cigars. So,
Yes.
right. So you cannot regulate cigar smoking on your beaches and in your parks, but you can do smoking and vaping. You can do smoking and vaping.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Tallahassee. What can I say? The other thing we did that affects you has to do with campaign finance laws. The bill that passed last year, I want to preface it with the bill that passed last year about campaign finance law was overturned by the courts, and we don't know how it's going to end up. This bill is the next one in line with it, so it's hard to say how it will end up. But what it says is that you as counselors cannot opine on various matters from the bench, so from your dais. So if there's for instance, Palm Beach County half-cent sales tax, you cannot opine about it. You, if you're asked about it, you can give factual information, but I think that could be challenged on a free speech ground. So we'll see how that works out. But just be aware that that law is out there. It hasn't been signed by the governor yet, I don't think, but I anticipate that he will sign it. And I like to end by talking about the silliest bill that we passed in Tallahassee. So this year we made strawberry shortcake the official dessert of the state of Florida. Key lime pie is still the official pie, so don't get worried. But we did make strawberry shortcake, which is kind of bad because as you all probably saw in the news, there was a lot of cultural wars in Tallahassee, and a lot of things we spent an inordinate amount of time on things like don't say gay, stop woke, an election police force, the abortion ban. And what happened is we didn't spend time on the things that affect a lot of our constituents. So we did nothing to affect the property insurance increases that all of you are probably experiencing as you're renewing your property insurance. Zero legislation. There is talk about coming back for a special session. I'll tell you, the big problem is we don't know what to do, how to address it. It's such a problem. It's coming from all angles. It's the insurance companies, it's the attorneys, it's the the roofing inspectors. And, so we'll see if we come back. And then the other thing that was shocking is we did nothing about the Surfside collapse. So there was discussion about having buildings having inspections of buildings and then certain amounts of reserves that would have to be put aside after the inspections. And they got in a little war about the reserve amount. So I know that the city of Boca Raton has put in place their own inspection requirements, and it's something that you might want to do because we did nothing on that issue. So there were a lot of things that, we could have done, but we spent a lot of time on these issues. So that's pretty much my report. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Oh, we thank, Bob? Saw you raising your hand. Well, Senator Berman is a strong defender of what interests us the most, and that's home rule. And is of great interest to all of the smaller communities here. So we thank you for your efforts in that regard.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great
Senator.
day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to 10D, which we've moved up. Hudson Gill's going to discuss the settlement proposal.
Good morning. My name is Hudson Gill. I'm an attorney that represents the town in the 3 lawsuits that are before you for settlement involving Martin O'Boyle and entities he controls. Basically, the resolution is to direct the mayor to approve, to be able to sign the settlement agreements on behalf of the town. Basically, they're walkaway settlement agreements in 3 pending state court actions. Each side pays their own attorney's fees and costs, and the case are dismissed with prejudice. 2 of the cases the attorney's fees are being paid for by their insurance, but one of the cases, we call the airline case, is being paid for by the town. So you will certainly save money on that case with attorney's fees by entering into these settlement agreements. So for those reasons and others, we certainly recommend approval of these settlements.
And Mr. Nazaro, you've worked on these cases. You also agree with the proposed settlements?
Yes, sir.
Seem to be in our favor.
Correct.
Very good. Any questions of Attorney Gill?
No.
Why would we not? We have a resolution 22-02 in front of us. Would you read that for us, please, Ms. Taylor?
Sure. A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the mayor of Gulfstream to sign settlement agreements in case numbers 2015 CA 001498, 2019 CA 008709, and 2020 CA 002159, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Presented for adoption this 8th day of April, 2022.
Thank you. Resolution 22-02 has been read for our adoption. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve resolution 22-02.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein and Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, Hudson. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to public comment. Anyone wish to speak? Fine, Hudson. All right, let's move on then to the public hearing. Our first application is Mr. Murphy. Make sure I have these set up right. I did not. First, with any ex parte communications regarding this application on the Smith Living Trust property.
None here.
We need to swear in the.
I will. I want to do the ex partes first.
Okay.
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Murphy briefly just about the issues, but not in any great detail. All right, Ms. Taylor, would you swear in the witnesses?
Yeah. Anyone else intends to speak at this meeting, please stand up and be sworn. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you. Okay, Tom.
Mr. Mayor, good morning. Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Council, Mr. Manager, Ms. Taylor, Chief. Renee, good morning. We are here after appearing before the ARPB a couple of weeks ago with respect to the application for a variance on behalf of Hunter Smith, who is the owner of the property immediately south of the golf club, 1919 North Ocean Boulevard. Mark Marsh is the architect for Mrs. Smith, and I am her agent with respect to the application for a variance, which I will address after Mr. Marsh gives his overview of what is involved in this minimal request for a variance. If that's okay with
Yeah,
you,
sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Mark?
I'll just say good morning to all. For the record, Mark Marsh, Bridges Marsh Architects, here representing Mrs. Hunter Smith. I think everybody's quite familiar with this property. It's one of the, I think, the nicer properties in the town. What Mrs. Smith is concerned about is security, perimeter security. And Tom will go into the details of that shortly. What we're trying to do today on a variance request is to request, we have a perimeter fence on the complete north side, and we have a shared fence with the Orthwines, who are the property owners to the south, that stops about here. And the idea or the request today is to create a barrier or a fence on all, primarily the ocean side, which is the open side to the beach area. Okay, so we can move along. Did I mess it up already? What did I do here? Sorry, this, every time I touch this thing, I have technical issues. You go to the next. Okay, what you'll see here, and I apologize, I wish we could blow it up. This is a collage of some of the existing conditions. Can you go start at the top for me, please? Okay, the top left is the existing lawn, which I think is one of the nicer features of the property. It's just a very tranquil, undisturbed, natural lawn. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner is a bulkhead, the existing bulkhead, which has been in existence for many, many years. And the request today is to install a fence, a 5-foot fence along that bulkhead. The picture to the left or to the right is a view looking the other way. So you can see it's just a very tranquil, go down a sec. What I'd like to show you here is in the extreme northeast corner, there is an existing gazebo which came with the property when the Smiths bought it in the mid-1990s. And this fence that exists on the bulkhead today, it's only partial and just limited to that general area. And what we'd like to do is to replace that with a more attractive and less visible fence. These are some shots from the beach looking back. The person on the right, I had trouble holding a tape and trying to measure it. So I found somebody that was exactly 5 foot high and use that for reference. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, that's the existing gazebo and fence. Go across again. This, the top, the middle right is the existing wood fence on the south side that we want to attach our new chain link fence to. The bottom right, left is the area that we intend to do that. Continue. That's the next one. Make this as quick as possible. Again, here's an overview. No, don't blow it up. So on the site plan, this thing is not reacting. You'll see that black line on through the plan there is the proposed location. On the right is a pictorial reference point. And if you turn one more up, this is what we're proposing. It's going to be a black picket fence. Again, black is the least visible of any kind of fencing material. And what we're doing is we're not affecting the sea grape planting on the seaward side of the bulkhead. We are planting a new hedge on the interior side, again, to just soften the impact of the fence itself. So that's really physically what we're proposing. I'll let Tom go on to the explanation and for the request.
And the mark in the grass is where the fence would be if you kept to the codes.
Oh, sorry. The code would be about 25 feet into that lawn area.
25 feet in from where you are proposing it.
Correct. Which
Okay.
again would just interrupt the whole ambience of that, tranquil site. So with that, I'll come back
Okay.
with questions.
All
I'll
right.
have Tom.
Very good. Tom?
Thank you.
With respect to this variance request, there are code sections which are necessarily a part of the variance request, including 70-67, 70-75, 70-74, 70-187. I think perhaps the most affected code provision, if you will, is our request to put the fence on top of the existing seawall, in that this is east of the 1978 coastal construction control line, which is in our ordinances, the rear property line for oceanfront properties. But given the fact of the unobtrusive nature of the fence that is proposed and being only 5 feet above the seawall with that hedge immediately to the west, it's very unobtrusive. And interestingly enough, this request for this relief affects only one property owner, namely Mrs. Smith, because no other resident of the town will even be affected by this, because she will be the only one who is looking at a fence going eastward.
Why does she want to put a fence on that seawall?
Only for security, Mr. Mayor. This is a unique property in the sense that it abuts the golf club. And without a fence, the only alternative would be a 12-hour guard after dark. And our guard dogs wouldn't work very well if we had to do an invisible fence, because we know that they fail. So given the fact that she is wide open, with those who are familiar with this property and being adjacent to the golf course is wide open, particularly at night. And from the beach, anybody can come in. And so if this fence is approved by the commission, she will have the kind of security that this elderly woman requests.
From the east, it looks like a very extensive sea grape or ground cover that would be difficult to navigate.
Well, there's a
beach.
pathway to the beach.
Right. Now, there's a gate there now, though, right?
Pardon me?
There's a gate there now.
There's a gate, but it's a low gate. You step down, this is allowed within that area east of the CCCL. So if you go up to the gazebo, which is a non-conforming use now, and you look at the existing entryway to the beach, you have steps down from the gazebo going south to the area which is open to and through the sea grapes, in order for the resident to gain access to the ocean.
Are there other properties on the beach that would request this kind of security? Is this going to be a new precedent?
I think this is the only property I know that is affected as extensively as Mrs. Smith. There is a property, as you know, north of the golf club, and it has an impenetrable sea grape and fencing, I understand, which would prevent intrusion. Moreover, it's not subject to intrusion, if you will, from the golf club, and I'm not talking about golf club members, I'm talking about the public going on to the golf club, because it is north of the club and not south. So she's exposed to the entire area of the club running from the north boundary south to her property.
Let me add to that. There's a common problem in the summer months that people park their cars and they're constantly going across, what is the 18th hole? They go down to the beach. There's a lot of traffic and the clubs try to prevent it, but not very successfully. So there is a lot of people going across in the summer months.
And by the way, we can't prevent, I think, in the right of way, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, from people parking.
No.
And we have examples, I see it all the time, of people stopping and enjoying a rest along the properties, not the golf club, but those which are south of it. So I'm not suggesting every one of those persons is a criminal who has some malicious intent. But in this instance, to answer Mrs. Worthwine's question, Mrs. Smith is clearly the most exposed. And that's the reason for this request. And you can see one of the beautiful parts of this property is the fact that it's such a soft imprint in the way of improvements on a vast piece of property. And if we were required to put the fence to the west of the proposed site along the seawall, it would just destroy that beautiful open space between the house and the sea grapes.
Yeah, that's the most convincing argument. I'm looking at the eight requirements for granting a variance, and I think you've articulated reasons why this applicant meets those eight. To enforce the code as is would put a fence in the middle of what is a beautiful backyard property. And I think the nature of it being right next to the golf course and the risks of trespassing that you spoke about, Paul, are unique to this property.
Chief, you see cars parking there and people going across quite a lot.
If we see them parking across and we stop and enforce, who they are, and you give them trespass warnings and have them leave the property.
But it goes on a lot.
But they can legally stop on the right of way of A1A when they get out of their car and walk to the beach that they're trespassing.
And there's nothing that prevents anyone being dropped off by a bad actor and that person scoots into the property.
There's no fence along the south-north on the west side of the golf course. So you just walk right in, and there's no intention to put a fence up there. So it's no way to stop people.
Yeah, well, that's what makes this property unique because of its location, not only to the ocean, but to the more specifically to the golf course. Anybody see any issues with any of the eight?
I just have a question about the screening. So what type of sea grape maintenance is going on the opposite side of the seaward side of the bulkhead? I see it's kind of only like, what, 24, 30 inches off the sand there. I guess this is a question for Mark.
Yeah, it's maintained at 32 inches. 32 to 36 is what DEP wants you. You can't, you need to keep it, that's the lowest you can go. So this is actually 36 inches.
Okay.
And again, there's a cross section, I think it's in your package. The sea grape can grow up higher and screen most of this, but we don't want to impede the view, obviously, because it's such a. I think the other thing, is that obviously from a historical standpoint, there was an intent to have a fence. I don't know if just part of it got removed, so that it's a pre-existing fence by the gazebo there. So, I can't recall, to be honest. 96 is way back for me. Whether the Evans had a fence there originally or previous owners. So,
no, that's another good reason for the granting of the variance. Anyone else have any questions on any of the 8 criteria required to grant a variance?
One quick question. Any comments from the Orthwines? Are they okay with it?
Yeah, there are 2 conditions, and I was going to bring that up. on the south side, southeast corner, which adjacent to the Orthwines, there was some disturbance by some maintenance people. And the Orthwines have asked that we make sure that the new chain link is on our property, which it has to be. And also that any of the sea grape that was affected will be supplemented and replanted to the pre-existing, and in effect, screen that fence from view from their property. And we have no problem with that.
Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Is there a motion? But you, Mrs. Orthwine.
Trey, we're gonna,
Sounds good.
yeah, we've done variance in a while. We're, do you want us to go through each of the criteria?
You do not for granting of the variance.
Okay. All right, this is a motion to approve a variance from the provisions in section 70-74 and 70-1877 to allow the installation of approximately 250 foot of 5 foot high black aluminum picket perimeter fencing on top of the existing sea wall, which is east of the coastal construction control line.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Mark, I think you're back up.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have anyone who's going to be speaking today on any of the applications rise and be sworn in so we can get that done at one time.
We got them all.
Oh, you got everybody?
Yeah, we got them all.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, terrific.
thanks, so.
Let's try this. Okay, while we're setting up, again, Mark Marsh, architect, Bridges Marsh Architects. I'm here representing Kathy and Martin Brown, who live down in the Driftwood Landing area. They have asked us to help them develop a pre-existing lot. It's lot 14 and the application is 14 Driftwood Landing. Currently, the survey that's up on the screen now, it's a piece of property. It's a gorgeous piece of property. It has substantial planting on it. Mr. Martin, Senior Brown, used this to, this was like his escape garden. And unfortunately, with our development, we're going to have to elevate the property by about 4 feet. And I have Corey Meyer here from Navera Williams Landscaping, who will be presenting the landscaping that will show how we're going to supplement whatever we lose. We are going to keep some of the perimeter royal palms and some of the buffering to the north side. But whatever we can transplant, we're going to try to transplant. Can you go to the next? I'm a jinx. Okay. Here's a site plan. North is up. The unique thing about this property is that, oops, did I move it? Oh, okay. I can't even point. Just, thank you. Because it's on this cul-de-sac on the west side, we actually have determined that that's the front of the property. And the unique thing here is you can see the property line goes west of our property into the street and is actually located almost on the west side of that existing paved area or street. It has been deemed by staff that that is now our front setback or frontage. And with that, we have to provide not only a 30-foot setback, but an additional 10-foot right-of-way. And it sets the property quite deep into the easterly and center of the property. And even more impacting is where the radius of the cul-de-sac is, we have to maintain that same 40-foot offset. But I think it's actually helped in developing the property in terms of site planning, because the Browns want to be very understated. They want to be very natural. And as I mentioned, having to raise the property at least 4 feet, it helps us transition that from 3 feet to 7 feet from the street level to the finished floor slab. So it's really worked in our favor, and we've used that in setting out and laying out the house on the property. We obviously conform with all the setbacks and other criteria. There's very little structure. You'll notice on the top, there is a pull-off. That's the driveway, and there's a pull-off just before you enter the garage. You'll notice also, again, going back to the statement of being natural, there is no front driveway to the house. It's actually going to be a kind of a meandering through a grass area. So it's very, very, there's nothing harsh about it. You won't even be aware there's a driveway. So it makes it kind of unique. The house is about a little under 6,000 square feet. It's primarily a 1-story house with a 2-story element where the garage is on the north side. If you want to go, I won't touch anything. This is a floor plan, and it's rotated. The bottom is actually the west. It's a very traditional, you'll see it's a Cape Dutch style, very much balanced. You come through the front door, which is in the center, and there are 2 bedrooms that flank the entry foyer. There's a central great room, which is going to be a pretty high space with dormer windows, which I'll go into. On the right is a master suite. Again, not overly, just fairly modest in its scale. And on the left is a kitchen, family room, and general lounge area, which is going to be the central activity area of the house. On the left is a back entry with a rear stairwell going up to the 2nd floor, and the garage and laundry area. Next one. On the 2nd floor above the garage is basically a bedroom, guest bedroom, office study area, and an exercise room. Again, very modest. I'm going to go. The roof plan you will see is, again, very steep roof with the gable end, Flemish gable ends. And the top elevation is the front entry on the west. You can see it's flanked by the 2 gable ends, traditional Cape Dutch elements, a steep roof, and also the dormer elements, which will be giving light to that great room element. You can go, this is the south side, which is basically the master bathroom area, which has a very strong gable end again. And the rear, and very balanced. And the one comment that ARPB had, if you could stop there, was the garage wing, when we presented to them, had a very straight, and from the garage doors up to the 2nd floor was not interrupted. We have now introduced a band to kind of dissect that verticality. And that's something that the ARPB had requested, and we totally agree. Okay. With this, I'd like to pass it over to Corey and let him take you through the landscaping.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Corey Meyer with Navarro Williams Design. As Mark mentioned, trying to keep this sort of like a lush, natural landscape look, similar to what's there now. Unfortunately, with raising the site, there's not much we can keep, but the goal is at the end of it to look like it never left, and just to put it all back. So, I mean, as you're Go up just a little bit to see the top. Thanks. So as you're coming in, you're going in between two sea grape trees, kind of forming an archway over the driveway, which will really soften the driveway even more, so you don't really know it's there. As Mark mentioned, there's a meandering path then that leads towards the front door. Some lawn area, we have some Alexander palms, a bunch of lower flowering plants like tombeyas and firebush and hibiscus. It's sort of just a mix of planting, tropical mix of planting, not one monotonous bed. It continues across the front then along the side. Along the south side then, it's sort of almost like a hidden garden on the south side. It's very lush and tropical. We did receive a couple comments from neighbors about making sure that's adequately screened. So since the ARPB meeting, we've added a couple coconut palms and a pigeon plum tree and Japanese fern tree. You can see that in the
You
elevation here
show
in a moment.
specifically where that's increased, because I noticed it on the initial application.
Yeah.
The house is quite visible
If
from
we
the south
go
side.
to the elevations, you see it a little better. Yeah, it's that one. I believe. Yeah, so before the house was a lot more open, so we've added, let me just make sure here, yeah, 2 Adonidia palms here to help screen there. There's 2 more coconut palms which help break up the roof. We have a, barely see the mouse, Japanese fern tree, pigeon plum tree, and a Bismarck here. So we're really trying to screen this. And we've also increased the height of all the lower planting. So you're not just looking straight in over the wall.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's enough, to be honest with you.
You can always
Is
add
there more you can do?
Yeah, we
to-
can always add more. We can raise the planting more too.
Well, I think, if I could step in, sorry. Yeah, we respect the owner to the south's concern, but I think this is going to be a very peekaboo look. That element which you see in the center of the rendering is important to us. It gives the house the character that we're trying to look. I think with the planting that Corey has suggested, we can adjust it, but I think it's sufficient. The other thing to note is that there is a retaining wall on the south side, again, because of the elevation, having to raise the elevation, and that's going to be totally screened out and soft. We've just left it a little bit exposed just to show or to.
Why is that important to the owner, that the owner to the south be able to see your house? Why is that important to the Browns?
It's not, the lot's so big. I mean, and if I know you're all familiar with the area. It's very kind of tranquil. I think the fact that, the element that you see there, that gable end, it was much more exposed before. And we agree that it was kind of very visible. But I think in 3 dimensions, that's going to be very muted. But I think we don't want to lose the character of that element. I think it would be a shame to obliterate that.
The character of what element?
That gable end that you see there, that white element there.
Why would you lose that? We're talking about plantings. I'm not quite sure I understand.
Well, the plantings are going to be staggered. They're not going to be in a row. So you're going to get this broken view, as I said, a kind of a peekaboo look at that element. But I think,
Do the Browns want to look at the Perry's house to the south?
there's no real visibility to offsite from that area.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I may be
No, that's fine. It's
foliage
okay.
dense on this, but I'm having trouble following that line of argument.
I think when we previously presented it, there was a lot more visible elements of the house. And I think that was the concern of the neighbor, that it felt like it was imposing on it. I think what was proposed here now has created a veil of landscaping.
Has it been shown to the Perrys?
We've shown it to staff, so they are the ones that have been relaying the concern. So, and there was an email, but I think we will study it, but I think, we've embellished it quite a bit from the previous presentation.
I believe you have the previous in front of you.
No, I don't have that one. I
No,
have-
you don't have that. This
I have
is
this one.
different from, this is what he's talking about, the previous is.
Right,
So,
I got, no, I understand.
Can you bring up the landscape over the retaining wall a little bit more, or to height more?
Yeah, we could lift the landscape up a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would solve some of the problem to bring it, have a little. bit
Yeah, exactly, that's all.
And not just the palm trees, because they don't really.
You can see,
That was the original concern, yes,
you
obviously.
see how that, but this is much more muted.
We have a street there, right?
Pardon?
There's a street there. right?
Yes.
The house, the south,
Yeah, it's on the street.
it's on the street, which is, Mark's trying to articulate that when you're driving the street, he doesn't want to totally hide the architectural element. It's not a lot, there's not a lot of buddy. It's a little bit one way, it's like Oleander, it's like the 12-foot street.
Right.
Okay. You know,
No, I think we're all on the same page.
Okay.
And you can see from before and after, it's quite.
So that's sort of,
Right.
so he's gonna frame that with some more palms, so he doesn't want to totally hide it from the street.
Yeah.
Palm trees will give it some dimension, and bring down the scale of the house.
Mhm.
That's what it does.
I mean, it's certainly an improvement over the original.
And we want to make sure we're framing the house and respecting the house, not just making a wall and just making the house disappear.
Well, yeah, it helps the
Yeah.
height.
And obviously, we don't want to see the neighbors either. So if there is an issue, we're going to fix it. We're not just going to. But we feel like this will solve that problem. I guess go back to the site plan. All right, then. So moving along to the back, there's a proposed swimming pool. We're trying to locate a really nice specimen tree, which will help anchor the backyard. It's right centered on the loggia and the great room, so it's going to be a focal point. Add a little screening as well. Sitting area is kind of underneath the tree, then a pathway that leads back around to the driveway. And the entire back, again, we're screening that. So we have areca palms, fishtail palms, all that are about 10, 12, 14 feet tall. Understory as well with rhapis palms and philodendrons. It's still a tropical mix. Want a lush tropical garden that looks like it's been somewhat tamed and controlled. I'm going to go back then to the front. Mark mentioned we have to raise the side up, but along the front, we don't want to just throw a sidewall up, raise the grade up. So we're proposing to put some, sort of rubble coral boulders along the front, which is what's the white here in these planting beds to help us with that grade transition. And then slowly kind of lift the grade up towards the front of the house to avoid any abrupt transition or just the wall in the front. And those have more plantings around them. Again, lush tropical, some Christmas palms. And that's where we have some of the existing royal palms that we're proposing to save around some of those as well. And that goes all the way around them to the south side of the property. Go down to the elevation. So this is then the front elevation. You can see the rubble walls then with the tropical planting, the palms in the background kind of helping to frame the house, the royal palms in the front.
So there's no driveway in the front of the home, what we call the front of the home. That's just a graduated lawn then.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, then where do you park your cars? Which I have guests come. And normally people park their cars in front of the house. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, you can park on it because that street is a short cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And it's such a casual, unstructured area of town. But there is provision at the rear. You can see that parking space almost in the center of in the rendering there, that you can park off street and then walk in up the path.
So you're parking in the north side and walking.
Right, and you just,
Okay. Thank you.
all right. I think
Mayor, I have a question. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but what's gonna happen with the flow of water in that area because the elevation is so high from the street side? Because it gets pretty bad back there when it rains really hard.
Yeah, good question. And we do have a civil drawing that addresses that. We have all on-site drainage because the existing catch basins there can reverse at times. They bubble, as you call it. But so we'll be taking care of the on-site drainage per the code.
Yeah,
And
they're required to do that.
There is a civil plan as part of the submission, but good question. So I don't know if anybody spotted the big change here. We changed roof colors. The Browns went last week, they were in town and they spent some time driving around and decided that the burnt red tile that was previously approved was a little bit much for their taste and desire. So they asked us to put in a gray tile, which again is much more traditional. And unfortunately, I did pass out the array of tiles just to give you, I couldn't get one. This is a Ludwigi tile, which is a small clay tile.
No, that's a good shot of it.
And
I like it better.
I agree with
Right.
that. It's much better. It's
Yeah.
more in keeping with the Dutch.
Right. No, it's I mean, both are good, but you know, the burnt red, if you look at some traditional Cape Dutch houses, they usually are sitting prominent on a elevated, and it makes a statement. I think this is much more in keeping with the Browns' taste and
A very attractive house.
so.
I like the
So
design.
I'll answer any questions.
Okay, any other questions for landscape or architecture?
I have two questions. The dormers, those are just for design purposes?
No, those are actually on both the east and west are providing light into that great room.
Oh, so you have a light.
It's a fully great room, which would be all natural timber. And
And the other question, I always ask this question, the neighbors, the other Browns, I assume they have no problem.
No.
And then Templetons and
no, everybody
there are
is.
no letters other than this
No.
one letter?
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other comments, is there a motion?
Well, sure.
Okay.
This is a
He's so good
motion,
at it.
motion to approve application for the subject property, 14 Driftwood Landing. First motion is a motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan review to permit the construction of a single family parcel, 2-story, 677 square foot Cape Dutch dwelling with attached 2-car garage and swimming pool.
Is there a second?
Second, but do we have to do the?
No, I lost my sheet here. Where are we here? Because I don't have the landscape plan here. And the condition, any minor modifications to the approved landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval. Any major modifications shall be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to commencement of landscaping.
That's it, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, now is there a second? Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons,
Bear with me, I'm trying to figure out,
We covered the motions, did we not? It was the two.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
on the
first
square
one.
footage of 6,074, that's what we're approving. But the proposed total floor area, so what is the proposed total floor area? Because this says different number.
Like
Correct.
there's a,
So let's
Did
clear that up.
something?
I think there was a typo.
Yeah, I think so.
It's 6,074.
Yes.
Is that the correct?
Yeah, let me amend the motion. The square footage of the home is 6,074 square feet.
Good catch.
Okay.
Second.
And we have a second, Ms. Taylor.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
and Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
I was looking for the demo permit, but there's definitely.
No.
Demo.
That's why I was like, there's got to be 2 or 3.
Yeah, it didn't look like enough. It looked like enough
Anything
there.
in numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to 590 Right Way.
Let's see, Mark.
Mr. O'Connell.
So I'm introducing myself. I'm Steve Strite. I'm the owner of my wife Jenny. Just want to say we love the town. We love the people in the town, the scale and character of the architecture, especially on the core. And we're just looking to make a couple small changes that we think will really make what we think is already a great house a little bit more beautiful and fitting with the character of the town. So I'll turn it over to Han Goose representing Patrick for that.
Hi, my name, for the record, my name is Hung Nguyen, in place of Patrick Ryan O'Connell for Patrick Ryan O'Connell Architects. And I am here in front of you today to propose a slight modification to the existing home of the Strite. This is just for pointing, correct? Are you moving the pages? Okay, go ahead. You can move. So, okay. Am I going the right way? Give me 1 second. Give me a second. Okay, so this is this is actually the old image where we had originally proposed with the copper chimney caps was actually slightly over the allowable. So we actually have a new one, which I'm not sure why it's here, it was in the last one. And I believe it is on your current handout. You'll see that there's a truncated, all we're doing is we're just going to put some molding where it was, where it's right now, it's just a flat band. So that's all we're improving there. The front of the house, which I'm trying to get to the page where you can kind of compare the two. We're proposing some new windows. Excuse me, trying to figure this thing out right here. We're not doing anything to the outline of the house. All we're doing is we're going to improve all the windows and doors. We're upgrading that to impact resistant, and we're changing style to make it proper for the style of the home. Right now, the home itself is it's kind of rustic. It's got tiny coins up on the sides. I'm trying to get to the photos. So there's a good comparison right there. So the original house is on the bottom, and what we're proposing is on top. As you can see, there are tiny little coins that run up the house. The house itself it's got good structure, but it's trying to be a little more formal but it doesn't come off that way with the pediment front. What we're proposing is double hung windows, French doors. We're doing away with these double casements and stuff like that. We're replacing that pediment front with a more minimal design, but still, and also provide additional cover, because right now the existing entry does not sufficiently cover the entrance door.
That's really the issue before us today.
That's exactly right.
Which is your limited special exception that you're seeking.
That's correct. We're asking for an additional 20 square feet to do that. And all it is, I'll try to get to the plan view if I can manipulate this thing. So that's the reach. Would you mind zooming in slightly to the front of the house? So there's the original entry. As you can see, it's a little shallow. It doesn't really enough to cover the door that's there. Then I'm going to move to what we're proposing. Next page, please. That's okay, I'll wait. Is that it? No, that's still the old one. Okay, I'm sorry. Since we can't show it on screen, if you would turn to page 12, or drawing number 12. So as you can see, what we're doing is we're just asking for a little bit more square footage for the entrance element, the entry element, to provide additional cover for the entry and entry door.
Yeah.
That's the gist of why I'm here today, actually. We went through the presentation to the ARPB. They all seemed to like it. It was passed unanimously. So I'm just here to see if we can get, now this house, this property had an originally 300 square foot exception originally. It was not used, all of it was not used, so it's already has an exception on it. And I believe close to 200 was used on the original house. So I don't know if the remaining square footage is still granted, but we're asking for an additional 20. Well,
Yeah, I don't think it works like that, but I don't know that it matters because I used to live next to this house and I'm well aware of what you're
perfect.
saying.
Yeah.
And I think the special exception to extend that front portico makes perfect sense. It gives better protection and it's more in keeping with some of the changes that the Straits are doing aesthetically to the house.
Yeah, so it can be a little steep from the street, so this will sort of.
Yeah, exactly. We flatten it out.
Yeah.
There's no more peak. And it just sort of, it's flat, it comes out a little bit. And, we took away a lot of that coinings and it'll just tame the house down a little bit. I think it'll fit a little better into the neighborhood, so.
Any questions, Mr. Wangham? If not, do we have a motion?
Sure. We're back. I just lost my area. Sorry.
That's, we're not used to having this many documents in front of us.
Yeah, right here. Yep. Okay, so there's two motions for this application. First motion is a motion to approve the special exception to allow the addition of the 20 square feet of covered entry that exceeds the maximum permitted FAR.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein. Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Second motion is motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan to permit the renovation of the exterior of an existing 2-story house, including replacing doors, windows, roof, new covered entry feature, other cosmetic improvements, landscape renovations, and renovations to existing pool with the following condition. Any minor modifications to the approved landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications shall be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to commencement of the landscaping.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein. Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
Stephen.
All right.
Jennifer, good luck with the project.
By the way, you're a wonderful new resident in our town. Everybody enjoys having you.
All right, let's move on to the last one, and this is the Nolan property at 578 Palm Way.
I'll just hold this if you don't mind. Board, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dan Carter. I'm with Carter and Associates Landscape Architects, Inc. in Delray Beach, representing Ryan Howard and Bridget Nolan for the special exception and request in front of you today. The special exception is for a 564 square foot pergola located in the rear, all of these rear of the property. All of the presentation and project is in the rear of this property. And to replace two awning, it's a pergola. It's roughly a 14 by 18 with an awning that's roughly 3.5 by 27, and as per presented plans. And then the increase in pool deck, roughly about 30 by 7.5. And material selections, pergola and awning structures are tentatively proposed to be white, and the new decking would be a coral-like surface. And I'll answer any questions that you all may have.
What's the material the pergola made out of? What spec is that?
It's a powder coated aluminum.
Okay.
But, a baked on surface.
Yep. And does the pergola have a So does it open and close, or is it just gonna be?
It is a louvered system inside
Yeah.
the frame, and it's an automatic system that will open and close at certain times and or in hurricane issues, it stays, the hurricane mode stays open.
But if they weren't renovating, they're already. So you're replacing basically what you have, right? You're not taking more, for lack of a better.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There are existing awnings off the back of the house.
That happens to everybody.
They're just replacing them, but we.
All right, so they're replacing what's already been fathered.
We're basically replacing awnings back here and, or awnings over here and a pergola and another awning over there. We're replacing 2 awnings with a pergola structure.
Well, actually, it's great you're here because I think some people replace things and they don't bother to come, so.
But the reason it came before you is because it requires a special exception because the rear setback is only 10 feet. And this is a lot that's less than 13,000 square feet.
So those are small lots.
Yeah.
Any other any questions?
Okay.
Seems reasonable. Mr. Stanley?
Thank you. We are going to have 2 motions. One for this application is to approve a special exception to allow the addition of 20 square feet of covered entry, which would be in the rear of the property.
That's the previous.
Wait,
previous.
it's this one here. Well,
It's number 4.
I
Number
was too
4.
high here. Sorry, special exception. Again, I need a laptop, it's too much paper here. Special exception, construct a 564 square foot pergola, open air with 10 feet of rear setback.
Second,
a second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Second motion is the motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan review to replace 2 awnings with 1 pergola and 1 cantilevered awning over the pool terrace and re-landscaping. This is in the rear of the property.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
And Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Board.
Appreciate it very much. Let's move on to ordinances 22/3. Up for second reading, Ms. Taylor?
This is an ordinance of the Town Commission, of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 22, nuisances, Article 1 in general, Section 22-1, litter, to prohibit the placement of bulk or vegetative debris for collection except for 24 hours prior to pickup, and to require vegetative debris incident to lawn maintenance be removed the same day as it is created or accumulated, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. This is presented on the second reading for adoption.
Ordinance 22/3 has been presented on the second reading for adoption. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 22/3.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein? And Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Let's move on to ordinance 22/4, Ms. Taylor.
An ordinance of the Town Commission, of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 66 zoning, Article 8, Supplementary District Regulations, Division 2, Accessory Structures and Recreational Facilities, Section 66-369, Docks, and Chapter 70, Gulfstream Design Manual, Article 5, Area-Wide Standards, Division 4, General Outdoor Lighting Standards, Section 70-169, to update the town code to refer to the measurement of brightness using lumens instead of the outdated standard of watts, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. This is presented on second reading and for adoption.
Ordinance 22/4 has been presented on second reading for adoption. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 22/4.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
And Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much. Town manager report on undergrounding.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know, you guys probably haven't been watching the parking lot, but Comcast has been in and out of here all morning working. So they're working, and FP&L is that they have completed, they've taken the poles down all the way on Polo, all of the streets west of Polo, Old School and Right Way. And they're now working on Gulfstream Road from north to south. When they finish that area from Gulfstream Road to A1A, they'll come up here and do, they'll do County Road and then Little Club Road. And then the last poles that they'll take out are on A1A from Gulfview up to Little Club.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
There are poles on the easement between Polo and Gulfstream.
Right. They're going to do those last.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I said they were going to do those last.
They might do those.
Yeah, they might do those first and then do those, or do those first. And,
Depends on how it works out.
yeah, those are the most difficult poles
Yeah,
to
because
take
it's
out.
very narrow. That's why I was kind
Right.
of curious how they're gonna do
They
it.
can't get any equipment in there, so they have to cut it down the stages.
Right. And then you may notice some concrete poles, randomly in the core area. They will take those down once they have
At least 7.
located 7 poles, because it requires different equipment to come in. Needless to say, we're on the cusp of.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to give you an update on the RO plant for the Gulfstream Golf Club. As you know, that went through all of the approvals, but their geology assessments of the proposed locations of their tank and the RO plant did not pass muster. They're both, they both have like 18 feet of muck underneath those areas. And that would require on both of them demucking. It would make the procedure much more expensive. So they've chosen to relocate the tank and the RO plant, both of those. And so because the special exception location is being removed, we did reach out to Attorney Skip Randolph to determine how we would handle the application. And he said that we would need to redo the review of the application to ensure that the new locations meet the criteria for the special exception. If you remember that we added, the golf course as a special exception, or the RO plan on a golf course as a special exception. So they are having to start the review process over, and we have them scheduled for ARPB this month.
I did get a notice already.
Okay, good.
So
All right.
the soil borings were not in last time, I guess?
No.
Okay.
No.
Apparently not.
Oh, right. Got it. Okay.
So,
Okay.
That's a phone call.
so anyway, then that's the update on that. And I'm gonna let Trey talk about Federal Highway and the car dealerships here.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Commission. So we got notice last month, dated March 17th, about a Class 3 site plan modification request for Gunther Volkswagen. It's the existing dealership on the east side of Federal that abuts Place au Soleil. It was for construction of a 4,000 square foot showroom, service, and reception addition to the existing nearly 19,000 square foot structure. There was a lot of communication between myself and Chet Snavely, the president of the Place au Soleil Homeowners Association, about the scope of the project, and whether or not we needed to appear at the meeting and maybe postpone it. So I reached out to the agents and the city to discuss that project. That was heard March 23rd. Because a lot of those improvements were on the Federal Highway side of the lot, there was a belief that because a lot of this was an adjustment, they did add a 4,000 square foot showroom, but they demolished a 4,000 square foot office building. It was sort of just reconfiguration. Overall site improvements such as lighting, landscaping, and parking, most of that was isolated to the federal highway side. So we were happy that those were not going to impact us, but I did prepare a statement that was read at the meeting, thanking everyone for their participation and assuming that it was just an oversight that they didn't reach out to the town prior to us getting a notice a week before the hearing, just so we could, sort of let them know that we're watching and we're paying attention and we appreciate working with them. It was only after we sort of pushed the city for a deferral that we immediately got some attention and everyone wanted to meet with us, as you can imagine. That was just scheduled for one meeting and approval, so it was kind of, we needed to get on top of that, so we did. And then as it relates to the vacant parcels immediately north of Gunther Volkswagen, the staff, the mayor, and Chet Snavely again met on March 30th with attorneys for the property owner of those vacant parcels to discuss what will be a forthcoming request to rezone those vacant parcels from commercial to automotive commercial. Chet Snavely has been sort of on top of that, leading the charge, and he believes that the proper approach that he wanted the town to take, and we were all for it, was to get some concessions as part of that rezoning from the property owner, as opposed to fighting tooth and nail against the rezoning, seeing as we have a dealership that's directly south, and that it may be better to get some concessions ahead of time rather than maybe not get anything in the end. So we did meet, and we had a very long list of conditions that we wanted them to meet. A 10-foot wall above grade, which would be an 8-foot wall, is permitted by the zoning code on top of a 2-foot tall berm. A 20-foot wide minimum planted buffer of trees and other plantings to absorb sound. Maximum height of light poles to be 12 feet. Louvers on all parking garage openings incorporated into the design, comparable to those on the Gunther garage to the south. Timers on the top deck of the parking garage with motion sensors to automate for 15 minutes after 7 p.m. All lighting to incorporate downlighting with shades to minimize light spillage. The site plan designed to accommodate vehicle delivery on the south or west side of the property. Site plan arranged similarly to ensure trash pickup would be on the south or west side and not before 7 a.m. Key fobs not used to locate vehicles, things like that, comparable to what I guess the homeowners association believes were very positive concessions that we got from Gunther during their last project. So we have a lot of stuff going on immediately adjacent to Place Lane. We just wanted to update you on those actions that we've been taking.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you for all the work you put into this. ARPB meeting is April 28th.
Yeah, sorry.
At 8:30 a.m.
This is one more than we had.
Okay, finance report. Mr. Dunham.
Yes, so your balance sheet represents 50% of our budget for this year. Some notes here that Ms. Tu has made. We have begun, looking at our next budget at this point in time, and so we'll be talking to you about when we'll schedule those meetings to talk about that budget. And as you can see, we didn't receive permit numbers from Delray Beach, and recycling revenues are outperforming our budgeted estimates.
Good. Any questions?
All of our percentages are in good shape here.
Comments, questions? Very good. Chief, please report.
I request that the activity report be accepted as submitted. I would just like to add a little note that currently this month, we've had 2 cars stolen, one from the core area and then one last night from Place Soleil. This will be the first one we've had out of Place Soleil.
Do they have the dates on it?
This group of thieves are, they're working the whole state.
Yeah.
And we hear from Delray, Ocean Ridge, Manalapan, they're just, you just don't know where they are, what night or what day. Because last night the event actually happened at 6 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Broad daylight. They're very bold, they know their rules, they know their laws, they know they can get away with stuff. And they're making things very difficult for a lot of agencies. Along with that, I'd like to just let you know, we currently are up to 12 men. We're short one still. Our 12th man that came back on board was Raymond Batista, who had worked with us 6 months ago and tried retirement and decided it wasn't quite for him yet. So we were glad that he would come back. He was a great officer.
Yeah, glad to hear that. He's a good officer.
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Very good. And both those cars, by the way, had keys in them, correct?
Both of them.
Correct.
Yes.
I was just curious.
And one was in a garage.
And one was in the garage?
Open?
It's a tough night.
Open.
Yeah.
But the garage door was open.
That is
Yeah.
bold.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock.
Still bold.
I think it's bold.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what they did across the street from me. They went in the garage and took the
Right.
car.
Right. Thank you, Chief. We'll accept the report as submitted. Regretfully, Donna White, our commissioner, longstanding, is moving out of town and so has resigned. I've known Donna since I first went on the ARPP and then joined her on the commission. And she was always someone during that time who had great depth of knowledge and understanding of not only our code, but more importantly, the design manual and the importance of preserving what's important in Gulfstream. And so we need to replace her seat, and the town as typical reached out to the ARPP, the chairman of the ARPP, Tom Smith, and the vice chairman, Malcolm Murphy. Malcolm's been on the ARPP for a long time, and also is from Plaza Soleil. However, his business and travel plans prohibited him from being considered, and he asked that he not be considered for that position, so he declined. Mr. Smith, as chairman of the ARPP, I've known him since he was vice chair when I was chairman. Tom has great knowledge and understanding of our code. He also has leadership qualities that he's demonstrated as chairman of the ARPP, and probably just as significantly, he's a homeboy. He born and bred here. He knows the significance of Gulfstream within the neighboring communities and what makes us a very special community. So I think he would be an excellent addition to the commission, and I'd recommend that he be considered.
I think Tom Smith is an excellent choice. I'm sorry Malcolm Murphy cannot do it because I know he travels quite a bit, but I think Tom Smith is just an excellent choice.
Got very good judgment.
Yeah.
As you say, talking about local knowledge, he has that. And I review the ARP recordings prior to looking at all these applications. And Tom always keys in on the pertinent points. He's got a very good sense. So I think it's a wonderful recommendation.
Okay. With that being said, we need to appoint a new commissioner. Is there a motion to?
I'd like to appoint Tom Smith as our new commissioner.
Is there a second?
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. We also need to address voting delegates and alternates for the Palm Beach County League of Cities, which essentially starts with the mayor and goes down to Tom, Joan, Paul, Greg, and I guess would add Tom.
Right.
Is there a motion to approve that designation?
I'll move to approve the voting delegate and alternates to the Palm Beach County League of Cities.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. We've already handled item 10D. Let's move on to any items by commissioners. Anyone wish to say something?
I just wanted to note that we now have a vacancy on the ARPB. We do have 2 alternates. I did speak to Rob Canfield, who is an alternate relatively recently, lives in Plaza Soleil. I spoke to him yesterday in the event that he would be interested in becoming a full member of the ARPB, and he was very excited about that opportunity. So We do have 60 days to make that appointment, but we do have someone that's ready to take it if the commission wants to consider that at this time.
And he's the new alternate from Plaza Soleil, correct?
He has
Correct.
been an alternate for a year or so, maybe
Right.
a little more. Yes, ma'am.
And I hear good things about him. So I think we should address it now.
I agree. I've seen him participate on the tape, so I think it's been very
I've heard,
effective.
Yeah,
I
he's,
agree.
yes.
So let's appoint him to the ARPB board.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
And Mayor Morgan?
Yes. One last thing. I was talking to someone over at Plaza Soleil, and they raised a concern that with blue water development, that there's going to be an increased number of cars coming in and going out of Plaza Soleil. And more significantly, as cars exit Plaza Soleil, it's difficult to turn north to go right out of Plaza Soleil. The light is essentially for vehicles that are going to cross and turn south. And their concern is that this will lead to considerable blockage, particularly at rush hour periods. So I think we should look into whether it's possible to have the town create a right turn lane leaving Plaza Soleil. Don't know if it can be done. We've talked about this and looked at the aerials. I don't know if there's room for it, but I think we should look into it.
And definitely, we're going to follow up on that. My concern is if there's enough room to stack, so to speak, more than one car there in a right-hand turn lane. Plus the fact, I mean, isn't the
There's absolutely no room. That offset, the setback for that backflow machine, the valve that we put in, it's literally like less than 10 feet away.
okay, we'll look at it.
Let's study.
Yeah.
Specifically, yeah. Right.
Yeah, we could at least look into it.
Sure.
Anything else?
No.
If not, thank you all for coming. Meeting's adjourned.
Every meeting now.
I mean, that was like.
I like the way you do that.